Alright guys, we are outside and in a very weird kind of rigged up situation here. I've got a laptop out here, I've got a camera ranger hooked up to this thing so you can kind of see what's actually going through the lens. Just give me a demonstration of this huge thing and kind of what it looks like to actually look through one, give you an idea of what it's like to move it around and shoot a couple of shots with it. So I've got it all set up here. I've got it hopefully live viewing here. I have to actually take the shutters via the computer, so it's going to be a little bit awkward when you're going to see me looking around. I can't actually look through the viewfinder right now. So this is the 800mm, obviously, 5.6 Nikkor lens on a Nikon D3X body right now. And I am pointing this at some leaves that you're looking at right now are probably 20 feet away or so. Let's see if we can find a bird or something to photograph with. This does have a minimum focusing distance, so like this stuff that's right here in front of me, like let's say, if I can find this flower right here, there's a flower right here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to focus on this or not. See, this is my minimum focusing distance. It just won't get close enough to focus on that flower, and it's probably 15 feet away or so. But let's see if we can find something. There's usually a lot of little birds who like to hang out in this little bush here. And so usually I can find one. The trick is going to be finding it, getting it focused, and snapping the picture inside of the computer all while I'm holding it. So sorry this is a bit disorienting. I don't have the ability to autofocus. There's a flower anyway. I want to grab a shot of that. Now this is not what this is designed to do. This is designed for birds or wildlife photography or things like that. And it's not really designed to be used in this confined of a space. It's really designed to be used in wide open area. I'm going to show you some examples as we go, probably, of photos I've taken in wide open fields of birds and things like that. But it's really nice that if you can get in tight like this, where you have a lot of birds coming in and landing, that you can get nice portraits of birds. And I'll show you a couple of those too. I'm just trying to keep an eye out here, see if we can find one of these little birds to come in. So if I'm a little ADD, I apologize. This is very heavy. This is not something I really recommend handhold shooting. It's very much something I think that you should have a big tripod set up with, especially with this kind of setup here with a gimbal, because as you can see, I don't need to hold this. I don't need to do anything. I can move it, maneuver it, do it whatever way I want without having to really worry about it with this setup. So I highly recommend something like this, not necessarily the setup I exactly have. Of course, nothing goes as planned. I figured there would be a little bird here that I could show you right away. That's not happening. But I tend to shoot, my kind of way I shoot usually is like this. My eye here, I have a hand on top of this. This is my focusing ring here that I tend to rest on, or I rest slightly in front of it where I can move the focusing. Ooh, let's see, we got this guy down here. That is a white-rumped shama. See if we can get him to go. It's actually the railing of my lanai that we're running into an issue with. Let's go back and see if he ends up right in here. Which I have taken a photo in this exact spot of a white-rumped shama before. He does not seem to be returning back. They tend to like to hop up on that little perch right there, look down on the grass, see what they're going to go after, dive down, get it, and then jump back up. But he seems to have gotten what he was after, and he's on his way. So a lot of people ask me why I went with the lens this big, and the biggest thing for me is I like to have as much safety as possible from what I'm shooting, or I need as much seclusion as possible from what I'm shooting. When you photograph very skittish things like birds or wildlife like bears or things like that, proximity matters. And the closer you are, the more dangerous it can get. Oh, here we go. Oh, he hopped right back down. He'd come back up for a minute. Why don't we lock this in? Right in here. See if we can get him to come back up. And if we do, we'll try to grab a shot of him. You can tell by how much I'm barely moving the focus. It's maybe an inch of focus change. You can tell how much the focus is changing here. And so using autofocus is very useful. And I will say that the autofocus motor in this is very quick, shockingly quick for such a huge lens, especially paired with the newer cameras. Like the video I'm shooting this on that you're looking at me with is a D810. Its autofocus system is very impressive. This D3X is not as impressive. If you have something great like the new D500 or the D5 with the new really awesome autofocus system, you're really good to go. But that doesn't do a lot of seeking, especially on higher contrast items, like birds in flight, like white birds, or things against water. Any situation like that, it's not too bad. If you are in a cluttered situation like we are here, like if I'm shooting in the shrub and there's birds in there, it can back focus a lot. So usually the goal there is to manually focus, kind of help it, I guess I would say, get it in the general area, and then get your spot focus on the head or the eye or whatever of the bird if you can, and let it autofocus at that point, then click off your shutter. I use back button focusing to do this a lot, and I've had pretty good success with it. This little bird guy, I can see him flying around, just so you know, he's all over, but he's not landing in that one little spot. I'm kind of hoping he'll return there and we can grab a shot of him. But overall, this is worth it to me. The lens is superior in almost every way compared to the 500 to 800 that I rented, the Sigma. Or was it 300 to 800? I think it was 300 to 800 Sigma I rented. And I can show you a couple pictures of that from when I went to Yellowstone last year. I took it with me and rented it there, because this was originally the big lens I was planning to buy. And when I got home and I started going through the images, I realized that even ones where I really nailed the focus, they just weren't super, super sharp. And I really am kind of a stickler for having that pristine. I really want the really sharp images. And I just wasn't getting that as much. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with the fact that it was such a zoom. It had a lens that was accommodating so much. It was such a huge zoom. So by switching to a prime, I get faster or better light control and faster autofocusing and much sharper images, if you ask me. What else did I say? Oh, and it's significantly lighter because it doesn't have all the extra zoom optics in there to be able to shoot that huge range from 3 to 800. A lot of people use the 600 and then use teleconverters, and this actually came with its very own teleconverter that I may have showed you earlier. I'm actually shooting this first before I do the part where I actually show you the lens up close. But this comes with its very special own teleconverter that is paired specifically for this lens. That makes it a 1000. It's a 1.2, I think, converter, and so it makes this 800 and 1000 millimeter lens essentially. Sorry, I'm just looking around for birds again. It's getting a little bit darker. But so I didn't want to use a teleconverter if I didn't have to. So I figured the less things in the way, the better, you know. So I started with the 800. It's got the teleconverter if I need it. I don't really use it, to be honest. And the 600 is something that maybe I would enjoy having, but it seemed ridiculous to me to spend the kind of money that I would have spent buying a 600 when I could have gotten an 800 for a little bit more money. And yes, it's a lot more money. I mean, it's a lot of money overall, but to me, I figured I would just rather start there, have that distance, have that safety. If I need to go down to like a 600 to get like an f4, or go down to like a 500, or even, I think they make 400 2/8 maybe. So if I really need that extra stop or two, I may consider going down at that point and then maybe looking at teleconverters and things like that. But so far, I'm happy with this. The only thing I will tell you with this is that having that longer length, that 800 millimeter length, especially when you're tracking birds in flight, like if they're coming across a field or a lake or a pond, having that longer length narrows your field of view much further. So acquiring what you're trying to photograph is a little bit tougher to do sometimes than necessarily if you had like a 600. Well, we saw a bird. I was hoping to kind of photograph one with you guys, but they don't seem to be cooperating. Why don't we just pan around a little bit? I can show you guys some other stuff then, and give you an idea of how far away some stuff is. And so this little tree thing that you're looking at here in my yard is probably 30 to 35 feet away. And you get an idea of how much that fills the frame. And the whole tree itself is maybe 8 feet tall. So it's not a very tall tree at all. If we go further back in my yard, we head back to, oh, let me unlock this. We go all the way back to here. These are the shrubs that line the back of my property. And those are probably, 50 feet, 55 feet away, would be my guess. Give me an idea, the crop factor there. Let me see, I'm going to try to turn around really quick. And we'll see if I can show you, if you can see the shrub that's back here, or the interesting little tree thing that's back here. I have to do it like this because I can't. I have my laptop sitting there. Give you an idea how far away this is. I know it's a little bit overexposed, guys. Sorry, it's the Cam Ranger. There's a flower. So we can find a better flower. There we go. We'll try to lock this in for a minute. And we'll grab an image. Make sure it's focused. And yes, there's a little bit of movement. Can't really do much about that. I have a very large bee that is out here saying hello. So, and that's probably, if you can see, again, that's probably 20-25 feet away. Let's go something further away. How about that? We'll go, there's a pine tree across the way over here. You can see it out there. And that's a branch. Let me figure out where we are here. That branch is probably about 70 feet in the air, 75 feet in the air, and probably 80 feet out in front of me. So give you an idea of your, and to zoom, or your how far your reach is in comparison. So if there was something sitting in that tree way up there, I would be able to get him. Where's he at? Oh, okay. I may or may not have gotten him. It's shockingly, like I have to like focus here while watching this and then reach over and hit capture on this to get the photo too. There goes the shot. That's alright. I think that'll do. So that'll be the demonstration, guys. That's kind of what it's like to just actually use it. I'll probably cut. There'll probably be a lot of ins and outs here. I'm going to cut this thing apart and try to make it not 15 minutes long of me just standing here staring off into the distance. So, alright guys. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave me some feedback. Thanks, guys.